This is Peace Massage Bar, made with fair trade organic cocoa butter. Cocoa butter is one of our key materials, and it might seem a simple ingredient to source, but unfortunately in recent years there's been growing concern about the use of child labour in the harvesting of cocoa beans in producing countries around the world. Conventional cocoa butter tends to be produced from a mixture of cocoa beans sourced on the open market, making it virtually impossible to trace the origin or ensure fair trade along the way. 2 years ago, we started working with the peace community of San José de Apartadó in Colombia to establish a direct source of fair trade organic cocoa beans that we could have processed into organic fair trade cocoa butter. The peace community is composed of about 1,800 people from different villages and settlements in northern Colombia that have united and refused to take sides in a civil war between the government's army and its right-wing paramilitaries and left-wing guerrillas. There's been large-scale displacement in the region, with farmers driven off their lands and thousands killed. The state has withdrawn all support because they remain neutral and won't accept paramilitary control. As a result, they are falsely accused of being guerrillas and have no government-funded schools or healthcare and no mains electricity. So they've had to work together and become self-sufficient to survive, running their own schools and health centres and an ecological farming research centre. They live by a set of agreed rules, which include no weapons, no violence, no alcohol, equal rights for everyone and non-cooperation with all armed groups. Working the land is their only source of income, and cocoa is their main cash crop. But because the paramilitaries often prevent them from selling to markets in Colombia, they've had to find international customers like LUSH, who will pay a better price, and make their struggle more visible.
Here we have 3 young cacao seedlings that were sown here about a month ago. Now they've germinated nicely and are growing in a good condition. They're a native variety of cacao, grown in the compost we make here at the community. In about another month, we'll plant them out in the fields. In this field we're trying an experiment. These young plants were grown from seed that we saved from our best cacao trees, those ones which didn't have any diseases and whose fruits did not get diseased either. We're trying to breed a strong native variety with these good characteristics from plants that are 100% organic and that have never had any chemicals. If you look at some of the plantations here in this area that are about 40 years old or more, you can see that some are just monocultures. We grow a variety of crops. This also helps the ecosystem and the soil life a lot.
The cocoa pods that look healthy and ripe are harvested and scooped out of the pods by hand into buckets. Any bad beans and all of the pods are left to compost around the trees, and their nutrients go back into the soil. The beans are then bagged up and taken on horseback to secure areas in the community to be fermented.
Entonces esto ya es el cacao traído del cultivo.
So this is the cacao we bought in from the fields, which we empty out into this box. After 4 to 5 days of fermentation, we take the beans to be dried.
The beans are dried naturally in the sun under movable roofs that can be quickly closed if it starts to rain. The beans are turned regularly to ensure even drying, and once again quality control to remove any bad ones. Finally, after a lot of work, 25-ton batches of our lovely fair trade organic cocoa beans are loaded onto trucks and transported to the port of Cartagena, where they are shipped to our processor in Europe. So we're in Orsonego in Italy. I'm holding in my hands our beautiful fair trade and organic certified cocoa beans all the way from the peace community in Colombia. We're going to take a look around the processing plant now to see these cocoa beans being processed into our peace butter and cocoa powder. This is the start of the cleaning process. The beans travel up on a conveyor belt into a machine that really consists of sieves of various sizes and shakes the beans around to separate the beans from the stones and other bits of debris. The beans now move from the first warehouse into the next building, where the real process begins. We were lucky enough to be shown around the processing unit by Roberto Vanini, who is the production manager. The beans are sterilised. Steam is applied at 100 degrees Celsius to destroy any microbes that might be present and eliminate the risk of contamination, really.
You can see here, starting from the cleaning of the beans are stored in the tank and move to the sterilization process.
This is a food processing unit. They make chocolate, and cocoa butter and cocoa powder are really just semi-finished products of the chocolate making industry.
At the end of sterilization, all the beans are preheated.
Before the beans are roasted, we have the pre-roasting process, which is a quite short, intense burst of heat that is applied to the beans, and this actually helps separate the cocoa nibs, which is what you find inside the cocoa bean, from the cocoa shell. And the cocoa nibs go on to the proper roasting process, and then you get this beautiful material which is called a cocoa liquor. This is then taken to this fantastic piece of equipment where the real magic happens. More steam is applied and also a lot of pressure, and as they press the cocoa liquor together, you actually get the separation of the cocoa butter, which drains down in liquid form to be filtered, and cocoa cake, which is cocoa powder in solid form that's compressed together. They are cooled down, ground into very tiny little bits so that you get the beautiful cocoa powder that will then either go on to be used in chocolate or, as in our instance, gets used in the production of things like cupcake face mask. And here we are, the final stage of our cocoa butter production. Our beautiful Colombian beans have now been turned into our fair trade cocoa butter that's ready to be shipped back to pool to the massage room to be turned into the Peace massage bar and also used in therapy. Here we have boxes that will each hold 25 kilograms of our fair trade butter, and within 15 to 20 minutes the butter will have set solid and be ready to be packed up and sent out. So our cocoa butter has had quite the journey, from Colombia to Milan to our UK factory and finally to the shops. We can now guarantee that not only is it certified organic and fair trade with full traceability throughout the process, but we're also supporting the peace community in their efforts to live a life free of the fear of violence. Simply, to live in peace.